We're back. I'm back. A very, very warm welcome to my channel. Go do your own research. I'm very, very sorry to anyone who was watching yesterday. I do not know why, but we had some technical difficulties and I wasn't able to. Well, I was playing the videos and the audio wasn't coming through. So I'm hoping tonight we should be all good. But yeah, what I wanted to do was, let me start again. Nicola Bulley. This happened 2 years ago in the beginning of 2023. She was a young woman, or I think she was in her 40s. She had young children, a mother. Went missing. It was all over the news. Everyone was interested, turned into a massive story. Eventually she was found, was it 3 weeks later or months, I forget. But anyway, there was a huge search after media attention. She was found quite a way away from where her phone and a dog lead and her dog were found initially. And ever since, there has been controversy over the circumstances of what happened to her. Now, first of all, let me say R.I.P. Nicola Bulley. I make any content. This is the third video I've made about her. Initially, I pointed out the inconsistencies in the timeline that was given to us at the time by the police, and that so I didn't have a channel in 2023, by the way, so I made a video in 2024 after her family participated in a BBC documentary. Made a video about it, got a lot of views, so I know how much interest there is in this subject, because a lot of people are not satisfied with the official narrative that was given. There was a public inquest which members of the public went to and reported back, and a lot of them as well said there was inconsistencies in the timeline, there was injuries that were unexplained, and there was screams that was heard, there was witnesses that didn't appear, and witnesses that did appear that seemed a little bit questionable. So that is why this story hasn't gone away. There are people that believe it was an accident. They have let me know that. They have let me know in comments that anyone that questions the narrative is crazy. And I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I think there's an awful lot of people that feel like the police did not do a good enough job. And not only that, but they deceived the public. And it was over Christmas, I was watching the Joe Yates documentary. I forget what it was on. It was on some subscription service my daughter had. So we watched it, and they talked about Nicola Bulley in that program. And in that program, they showed how the media intruded on the police process, how the media influenced the police, how the police arrested a suspect who had literally nothing to do with the crime. With Joe Yates was another young woman that went missing. Sorry if you didn't know. This happened in 2011. So yeah, that's why I'm making this commentary tonight, because I've watched the documentary. I think it was a stitch-up job to try and make the police look good. For whatever reason, the family have gone along with it, but we don't know what they're really feeling or thinking. And so I also made a follow-up video about the police report and commenting on the fact that there's a guy called Mark Williams Thomas who does a lot of this kind of true crime online commentary, and he seems to get a pass when it comes to criticism, because the criticism in that documentary and from the policing report was all about social media. They were like, social media ruins the narrative because people believed conspiracy theories. And so what they're not doing is acknowledging the part they play in causing these conspiracy theories in the beginning. Because, for example, it was them that disrespected Nicola by leaking, or actually they publicly announced to the press details of her personal mental well-being, which was completely unnecessary, in my opinion, had absolutely nothing to do with how she died. But they chose to put that information out there. So if we're not allowed to criticize that on social media, I don't think that's right. I'm not saying that I don't think some of the channels out there go way too far with their conspiracy theories. I don't buy into all of the conspiracy theories, but I still think that what Peter Faulding has come out and said is worth looking into. And I never really talked about it at the time, because when he first announced that he'd seen the body in the river, I didn't really know what to make of it, to be honest with you. And some people said they'd seen these images that he had. One of them, I tried to get him to come and talk to me on my channel. He refused. Then, much more recently, he's gone super public with this information. He's gone on a bunch of channels. He's done podcasts, and he's actually, well, we now have experts in sonar image technology who are verifying the evidence that he's presenting. So we're in a very, very different situation than we were back when he first gave this revelation, because I thought it was very poorly timed anyway, and I don't really think that the channel that he went on to announce it was very credible, but that's another story for another day. So yeah, I hope that all explains it. He was, as well, I'm explaining this for people that don't know, because I know there's people that watch my channel that may not have a clue about this case. So Peter Faulding has a private security company. He's a CEO of his own private security company. He kind of inserted himself via the media to become part of the search party. And that has caused a conflict with the police, because they didn't ask him and they didn't take his evidence seriously, or they didn't take his findings seriously. He thought he was going to go to the inquest. He didn't go to the inquest. He feels like the police have done a smear campaign on him, really. That's what he's saying. He's not used those words, but he's said that privately they told the press that he was going to do this announcement and that he shouldn't be believed. So understandably, he's doing what he can to defend himself. Anyway, let me start with a guy who explains it pretty well. His channel's called Crime Scene to Courtroom. And we're going to start with this clip because it explains about the sonar imagery. I can't see. Can someone let me know if they can hear me okay? All right, let me play this video.
Faulding, who claims the been released by Peter Faulding, who claims the case.
Ooh.
So exclusive sonar footage taken during the search for Nicola Bulley has just been released by Peter Faulding, who claims the case deserves further scrutiny. Firstly, I'll take you through the background to this latest development, then I'll be sharing with you the exclusive footage taken during the search itself. Take a listen to the following.
So this was released on the 29th of September 2025. So it's a long time after the inquest happened.
The expert brought in by Nicola Bulley's partner today claimed he can categorically prove he found her within 6 minutes and how the police then let down her family. Today, for the first time, Peter Faulding has released exclusive sonar footage of the moment he believes he discovered the missing mother of two in the River Wyre on February 7th, 2023. An independent expert has viewed the video and believes Peter was right when he was convinced he had located a human body just 360 seconds into his search. Police have declined to comment on the evidence and stand by their claims that the target area in the water was properly searched and was either nothing or a tree branch.
That bit of river that they just showed is a long, long way from the area where she apparently disappeared.
But an independent expert has confirmed that having viewed the never-before-seen footage, he believes Mr. Faulding did find a body in the river at St. Michael's on Wyre. And crucially, it measures 5 foot 3 inches, approximately the same height as Nicola. The College of Policing, who in November 2023 published a 140-page independent review into the case, stand by their report. They insisted that the police divers searched the area Mr. Faulding flagged. They also reiterated that they then got an expert view from an unnamed leading government sonar specialist who told them that they had low confidence that the images were that of a human casualty. Mr. Faulding has also shared new information of the Wyre's slow-moving and shallow water during the search, which he and other experts believe calls into question claims that Miss Bulley could have been swept away. Peter Faulding has urged detectives to look again at the case, declaring Lancashire police always suggested that Nicola fell in front of the bench, but this is impossible due to the shallow depth right at the bottom of the bank below the bench.
Okay, so that was another thing I wanted to talk about in this video, because there's been a lot of comments about how you can drown in very shallow water, but I found this video on YouTube which shows just how shallow and it's not even the shallowness, it's the fact that there's very little current in this river. So I just wanted to share this as well. This is a group of swimmers doing a swim/walk 9 kilometers from Garstang to St. Michael's, which is where Nicola went missing. So this is a weir. I don't think this is the weir that her body would have had to go over, but this is another weir further along the river. But there's been a lot of talk about whether she could have fallen in, whether she would have died straight away. And I just don't think, looking at this footage, and this isn't the only footage online. Let me show you this, who this page is from. This is them, Adventure Swim Coaching. It just doesn't look like anyone feels like this river is dangerous at all. That's what I'm saying. It's certainly not deep in most of it. You fast forward a little bit. Okay. So this is...
It's the best. Look at, look. Cowell's been on the gin. What are you doing?
Even though they're swimming, look how shallow it is.
Yeah.
And then there's another bit where here.
The ball and a playing water polo. Go on, Sharon. Get in. Go on then. Send it over. Oh, unlucky. It's been a bridge too far, and we believe round the corner. It's not the last bron, but it's very close. The pretty bridge. There it is. Yes, we're in.
So that is obviously the bridge by St. Michael's. And yeah, I just thought that was interesting because there's so much discussion about it. And obviously at the time, a lot of people were going down to the river, which they're going to talk about. But that video was made in 2019. Anyway, let me go back to what I was on.
Had Nicola fallen into the river near the bench, she would have landed on a ledge of rocks at the river's edge, shallow enough to stand up on. I believe Nicola went in where I found her by the island. I do not believe her death was simply an accidental drowning. The case deserves further scrutiny.
And we're just going to go down the river slowly. Now, this is what I see.
So this is the first time that he showed this imagery. And that's why I never commented on it at the time, because it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know nothing about this stuff. And also I'm a bit late on this because it was like 2 months ago and a month ago that everyone was talking about it. And I just thought now that I have time, I'm going to give it my analysis. I feel like it's worthwhile. Right. So let me show you Peter's Twitter account because I had a look at that. I said yesterday as well, I am not a fan of Peter Faulding. Let me make that very clear. He is not my type of guy. I know a lot of people see him as the hero and all of that. As far as I'm concerned, he's a businessman. But I mean, I feel like he's justified in doing this because, you know, you can see from his Twitter, he's been on all these different podcasts. That's another search he's doing. But yeah, he's obviously, you know, really given this a push, and it's definitely missed me because I didn't realize so many people have made this much content. But there was one particular one I watched yesterday, I think, or may have been a couple of days ago, where they do a full analysis. They have an interview with everyone. They have an interview with the expert. They have like a guy that studies geography of crime scenes, you know, and all of these people are saying this looks legit. So I don't think it should be ignored. Right. So one of the podcasts he went on was this one with these two guys. They're both ex-coppers. The disappearance of Nicola Bulley, police in the scapegoat. Let me see. There you go. Cops, capers, and custard. So these channels are really small that he went on. So I don't know how he set this all up, because I would have loved to interview him if I'd have known about it. But anyway, oh, one more thing, sorry, before I go on to them, I wanted to share with you was Peter Faulding at the time. Like I said, Peter Faulding is a businessman. He was going on media, or on media platforms, I should say, and criticizing the police while the search was still going on. He was like, if I was there with my equipment, I would be able to say if she was there or not. So he kind of inserted himself. Now, he says that it was her ex-partner, sorry, her partner, they weren't married, Paul, who contacted him, and that's how he ended up going up there. I can see we've got someone in the chat. Hello. Brilliant channel, much love. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can put your comment up. Yay. Can you hear me okay? And can you hear the videos tonight? Let me know. You totally agree. Yeah. I mean, the thing about my channel is I try and look at everything, and I try and get everyone's viewpoint, and it's called go do your own research. Like I do my research, which very few other channels do, by the way, especially the popular ones. And I know people come and give me what they know, which I might not know. And sometimes I say things wrong. Like yesterday, I said something about the documentary was on Channel 4 when I actually remembered it was BBC. But generally, I think I do try and make sense of everything I'm saying. It's great quality. Oh, good. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Right. So I just wanted to share this article very quickly, which says that Nicola Bulley's partner, so this is from February 23, Friday the 10th. Nicola Bulley's partner has said, we're going to find her, and that the family will never let go of hope 2 weeks on from her unexplained disappearance while walking dog Willow next to the River Wire. He tells their children everybody is looking for mummy. Oh, this is actually by Inzamam Rashid. Wasn't he the guy that did the interview with the dog walker with Ron? Right. Do I want to read all of this article? Nicola Bulley's partner has said her family is going through unprecedented hell, but would never give up hope of finding her. The 45-year-old went missing while walking her dog in St. Michael's on Wire on Friday, 27th January, after dropping her daughters off at school. Speaking to 5 News, Paul Ansell said, hope and that positivity in me is stronger than ever, and I'm never, ever going to let go. Nikki would never give up on us ever. She wouldn't give up on anybody. We're not going to ever give up on her. We're going to find her. So there she is. Mr. Ansell believes something happened on the day of his partner's disappearance. He added, there has to be a way to find out what happened. There has to be. You cannot walk your dog down a river and just vanish into thin air. I'm convinced it's not the river. Police searching for Miss Bulley say they are keeping an open mind, but officers have been working on a theory that she fell into the River Wire. And so this is where they brought in Peter Faulding, or sorry, not the police, but Mr. Ansell. Mr. Ansell doubts the wisdom of focusing on the river search. He said, personally, I am 100% convinced it's not the river. That's my opinion. He pointed to the fact that divers and underwater rescue team and all that were in that river on the day, and thankfully found absolutely nothing. Peter Faulding of Specialist Group International SGI, whose team were equipped with a £55,000 side-scan sonar able to pick up objects underwater, agrees. He told reporters he believes it is unlikely she had been swept out to sea. My personal view is that I think it's a long way to go in a tidal river, he said. Well, yeah, that was why I showed the footage of the river, because you can see it's very, very shallow and it's very, very slow moving. But I just wanted to refresh our memories on what was going on back in February. It's also important to note that the family and her friend Emma, who, by the way, I do not like the way Emma was treated by the public, and anyway, and just I've seen some really disgusting comments about her. She didn't appear at the inquest. I think she probably just, I don't know why, but I don't think she was treated fairly. Her family didn't believe the police were doing a good enough job with the search because they had just searched the river near to the bench. They'd not found anything, and they were saying, but you know, she could have been taken. You haven't searched the land. That's why they went to the media. And then the police were shown up for not really having a clue about what was going on. They hadn't really done an investigation. They had relied on their volunteer partners, as this guy is about to explain in this Coppers podcast. And the thing is, because it was getting so much attention, that's why they got shown up. And that's what this all became about. And it's disrespectful. That in itself is disrespectful to the fact that there's a real person here. There was a real person there. But the media never say that. They don't want to admit their part in that. So let's watch a bit of this. Oops. I've just realised I wasn't playing the video. Sorry. It was playing, but it wasn't playing on the screen. Let me go back. For a minute, let me read some of these comments. Siobhan, you had a bunch of comments yesterday asking if anyone could see. I never saw them. No, I do not know. I could see some people's comments yesterday, but honestly, I don't know what was going on with the whole thing, because when I watched it back, you just couldn't hear the audio on that video. I could hear it perfectly, but in the live stream, it wasn't showing. So I'm really glad it is today. Right, I need to rewind and play this again. So I think what he's saying, these are two ex-coppers. He's saying that he used to play the role of what I guess Sally Riley was with Nicola, which is he was put in charge of the operation and dealing with the media. But he left the police, I think he said 10 years ago. So it's that one. Yeah. There we go. That's what I wanted. Okay. This is it's Concerned Citizen. You have another account? Concerned Citizen, you have an alt account. Wow, okay. Well, hi. I don't mind if you have an alt account. You do you. As long as you're not here trolling, we're all good. Anyway, I hope you had a nice Christmas. Concerned Citizen, one of my regular viewers. Right, let's see.
Quarter of a century past. I was partnership inspector at Slough, and we'll remember those good old days when we worked on the Slough district area. And even back then, and this is really yesteryear, I acknowledge that the police considered themselves to be the dominant partner in all things community. And I have to say, on reflection, there were many projects that were probably better led by other agencies, such as the local authority. But the police nevertheless always occupied the driving seat. And certainly I'd go as far as saying the police were aloof and certainly didn't respond well to criticism, particularly from outside agencies. Surely 2.5 decades later, the way police work alongside other parties must have improved beyond reasonable recognition, one would suppose.
Well, you would say on paper, yes, but in reality, probably not.
Well, this is the reality piece, Frankie, because the case we're about to examine has left me questioning this persuasive and optimistic vision. The Nicola Bulley case, and in particular the involvement of an outside agency, has left me feeling that in some police forces, little may have changed in the last quarter of a century. And if you look at the constraints placed on police budgets, where arguably support from the wider community is vital, things may have got a hell of a lot worse. But before we get...
I was joking, Concerned Citizen. Sorry. I know you're not here to troll, but I just obviously have made a lot of content about troll farms, and I know that having alt accounts can be sometimes something that they do, but I know you are not that. You are not that guy. Sorry for the interruption.
Get into the nuts and bolts of the podcast case study and review the timeline. I'd like you, Frankie, to outline what a police search advisor, or PULSAR for short, is, because you once fulfilled this role during your illustrious career. And I'm sure this explanation will help our listeners better frame the rest of our discussion. So, Frankie, over to you, please.
Yeah, I was a police search advisor in Thames Valley Police for over a decade, 12 years, I think. And I think it's important to stress right at the outset that a pulsar, a police search advisor, is an individual. There is a concept in the world, especially on television, that a pulsar team is a team of people. The pulsar is an individual. A police search advisor is, and I'll quote from the logbook, is a person responsible for the planning and management of police search operations to include counterterrorism, crime, and missing persons.
So like I said, they had a woman called Sally Riley, and she did an interview with the press. This was in my second video I made about it. She didn't even know how Nicola had got from her home to the river area. That was how uninformed she was. And that was like 3 days after she'd gone missing. So I don't know about this guy, because he's like, you know, he's talking about a perfect scenario, but clearly there are communication issues within the police, and this idea of calling rank and not trusting a copper to speak to the press. That was their first mistake, if you ask me.
The pulsar is qualified to provide advice, guidance on all aspects of police search, including the deployment of non-police assets. Additionally, pulsars are responsible for ensuring the competence of searchers and to include the training of officers and staff. And the pulsar should be the single point of contact in any search where a search advisor is involved. They should be the single point of contact with the SIO, with the search teams, and with the PNSC or the National Crime Agency if they are involved in any search. The pulsar is in charge of the search scene, regardless of rank. It is a role-structured job. The pulsar is not rank specific, it is role specific. Search teams, pulsar's in charge, end.
In answer to your question, did she have water in her lungs? She did, but it wasn't very much. And there were bruises and stuff. Like, the amount of water, they did, the official verdict was a drowning, but the amount of water, this is my understanding, anyone who knows the proper details can correct me, but it was a very small amount of water in her lungs. It was like, they said it could have been caused a drowning, but it was the most likely explanation, I think, was how they put it. The coroner as well, he is like a kind of celebrity coroner. Like, he's, I'm not saying these people are all corrupt, but they cover for each other. Like, they, you know, he's like been given accolades. Why do you think that is all I'm saying. That's why they're not trustworthy. Then he's never going to turn around. They're not going to use him. They're using him because they know he is not going to go against the police narrative. That's what I think anyway. There was something else I was going to say before I carry on. It's gone. It will come back to me.
So if I was to summarize that then, Frankie, you pull the strings, you operate the levers. If you're called in, it's your show.
Absolutely, 100%.
I know what it was. So the other thing I found out from my research was, because there had been a call to their house. Okay, so her partner called the police and said, we found the dog and the phone by the bench, which was next to the river. The reason why they categorized her a high-risk missing person was because of his information. It was on his information. He suggested that she might have done something. And, you know, reading that report again, we can hear him saying it again. There'd been a visit, there'd been a call out to their house a few weeks before. maybe days before, maybe a week or so before, where she'd apparently had too much to drink one night and was acting a bit mad. And that was something she was very unhappy about. That was turned into she had mental health issues and she was a vulnerable person, sorry. But they took that from his information. That was a key part of this whole thing, why so many people took it, especially women, took an interest. Don't think the men are going to talk about that too much.
Well, there's, you know, the old saying, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. This is one chief.
Right. And a very...
I'm going to just fast forward to when they bring Peter in, because we haven't got all day. Here he is. Right.
Good morning. Good morning, Frankie. Thank you.
Morning, Peter. Good morning, mate.
All good. Good morning.
Are
Yeah,
you,
all very good.
Are you sure you're all good? Are you sure you're all good? I mean, I asked Frankie earlier on, and he didn't tell me he'd been in the back of an ambulance yesterday. So just a double check on your welfare before we get on with it.
Yeah, all good. Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if that was a joke or what was that. That was on Nicola's CCTV camera at home. It showed that she was annoyed the way she was walking. I agree. I've made a video about this that has 74,000 views at the moment. I pointed that out in my video. Her body language, to me, she looked very peed off. They had no interaction between each other. And the little girl said something as they came around the corner. And that footage as well, it had been edited. A lot of people have pointed this out. It's not raw footage. He provided it, Paul provided it to a true crime channel that was featured on that BBC documentary. It was called Grizzly True Crime. I actually was watching, I used to watch it before this all happened. In fact, this whole case, the Nicola Bulley case, and me making my own video made me start to see true crime in a very, very different light. It really did. But that doesn't mean I still don't think that there's something super shady about everything to do with this story. You've always had suspicions of the husband, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say without a doubt, because some of the stories and the comments that people have written on my video, I'm like, whoa, people are very, very sure. I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but there's something not right about the way he acted. His timeline is super off. The whole thing with the changing into the gym outfit and I had to go to the gym doesn't sound like someone that was super concerned about their partner. So yeah, there's a lot that doesn't add up about him, but I don't think we're going to get too into it because it causes too many arguments. But you know what? I just keep my eye out for things.
Excellent, Peter. Peter, we met a good few years ago, didn't we? In Corrib in County Mayo, when we were involved in a commercial operation with TFS, dealing with protester activity. And we developed a friendship from then, and we were...
See, this is what I don't like about Peter Faulding, is he says he's one of the good guys and he just wants to help people. But his job has for years been like the private security to get rid of protesters. Yeah. And these are environmental protesters, people that have been protesting really for good. And I've seen environmental protesters. And when I was younger, I was like everyone else. I thought they were crusties. I thought they were hippies. I thought that they were like, layabouts, because that's what the media, that's how the media feeds our brains. But actually, those people were protesting about things like roads being built in areas that were going to destroy the landscape. Everything they protested about, environmental protesters were right about everything. Just take a look around. Take a look around at our landscapes and our environments right now. And these people were saying it for years. They tried to stop the developments going on. Now look, we're in disaster. We've got flood zones. We've got fires happening. We've got people being poisoned by chemicals in the ground. And, you know, people like Peter were being paid a lot of money to get rid of those people. But yeah, that's my little rant on that over.
Very successful in what we did out in Corrib, and I learned an awful lot more about you and your background. And I wrote a published article which reflected on that event horizon when we met, and also about your previous life and how you came to do what you do. But what I was struck with, Peter, when we looked at your involvement with missing persons, was first of all your integrity, in my opinion, beyond reproach, and your compassion for families of missing persons, whether through misadventure or criminal activity, was palpable. So I want to put that on record, first of all. But perhaps for our listeners, I know what you do, but could you provide a summary of what SGI do and what it's all about?
Yeah, well, I started SGI in 1995, September 30th, 1995. Been in business 30 years this year, and on the 7th February, we had an honour to receive a visit from Princess Royal, Princess Anne, come see us and recognise for all our 30 years of special.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. He's in with the royals as well. That's another red flag for me. In answer to your question about the sub, that was the wrong one, sorry. Is there a sub credited for this yet? There was lots of Facebook pages at the time created, sorry, not credited. I don't really want to create anything, I'm not going to lie, because okay, just going by some of the people I had commenting on my video, some people are very deep into this and they're very deep into conspiracy theories. And then when you look at their like Substacks and that kind of thing, they claim to be private detectives. But it's not just that, it's some of the stuff they're into, which does not align with my values. And I'm talking about subjects like immigration and misogyny. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I still think it's worth making a video about this.
I bring side scan sonar in from the US to actually, and I pioneered it for the use of forensic search in the UK. So in them days, I got together with Mark Harrison, Dr. Mark Harrison, who was the former, he was the first national police search advisor in the UK, and we pioneered the, Mark oversaw some of the trials we were doing for locating missing persons in water. And since then, sort of led the field in that area in the UK, and recovered countless victims and evidence for the police across the UK, and including specialist search in places like mine shafts and using ground penetrating radar to locate buried human remains as well. So I had some big results. So I've been on the expert database since 2001 in the UK in specialist search.
And if our listeners pop your name into Google, they're going to get some immediate hits on some of the sort of newsworthy stories that you've been involved in. And I think particularly, let's not undermine or underplay your ability to form lasting relationships with the families of missing people, and also the charity work that you do in terms of preventing particularly children from being in danger, around our rivers and waterways in the UK. Peter, if it meets with your approval, what Frankie and I would like to do is go through the timeline of the Nicola Bulley case. I understand you've got some imagery to show us, and particular times that we'll look at those. But if any time you want to stop me and say, "Hang on a sec, Ian, I want to correct that," or pop that piece of imagery in there.
So this is why I wanted to show it, because they're actually going to go through the imagery and talk us through it and explain it. That was I.
Then please make that plain.
Okay.
But Frankie, I know that you've looked extensively at the police operation here, so I'm going to rely on you at certain junctures.
Yeah.
When we stop, is to compare and contrast what Lancashire Police did with your professional view on this. And also I'll come in as well, particularly in the early stages when we look at the operational procedure, when we talk about what happened at the scene to begin with. So from my notes here, Nicola was reported missing on January the 27th, 2023. And Frankie, could you just give us sort of a summary of the scene where she went missing, some of the issues that the first officer on the scene would have perhaps been presented with?
The scene itself, from the imagery I've seen and from what I've looked, is rural.
Just to your point about the way that we use the word misadventure as a cause of death. Yeah, we do, as British people, we do have a very restrained sense of language compared to like the American crime programs. There's definitely no doubt about that. You know, Americans are a lot more dramatic with their storytelling on crimes. But, you know, I think I'm somewhere in the middle. And also, like, being on YouTube, you have to watch your language. That's really annoying. Right. Yeah, he's explaining about the landscape, which I've already shown, in case you have just joined.
It's a field with a river running through it. There is a little village nearby where Nicola lived, but the place she was last seen was in a field. So from my point of view, as a search advisor, my designated search area is going to be a rural search scene, a field outside.
Okay, so before we get to the deployment of a pulsar, then it's inevitable. If I was the operational inspector in that scene, let's play this out in Thames Valley, a water source, okay. You know, in Thames Valley. Then, so we've got a rural location, plenty of rural locations in Thames Valley. So you know, we can sort of compare this hypothetical case study to begin with. Got a rural.
I am not so sure about that, because from what I understand, this is a village. It's a tiny little village in the middle of nowhere. Thames Valley, I come from obviously London. I don't know of too many areas where there's so little populations, but I could be wrong. But, you know, they're trying to say like, well, if it was me doing it, I would have done it like this. So we'll let them have their moment.
Rural area, fields by a water source. This is a large area. I get there as the inspector, and then briefed by the officers that have attended there on the circumstances of Nicola's missing. Now, for the listeners, can you just give us what was known of her activities prior to the actual official report of her going missing?
Yeah, she dropped her kids off at school that morning and then took the dog for a walk. I believe around about 9 o'clock, she was seen in a field, and she made a call to join a meeting on her phone. She didn't use a camera on that. So 9:10, the dog walker saw her in the field. 9:30, the call ended.
So this was one of the issues they had. There were no sightings of her. I mean, apparently one of the parents at the school saw her dropping the kids off, but we never got an official, I don't think we got an official statement on that. there were no sightings of her getting from the car to the riverbank and to this field that he's now talking about. That was the first time people said they saw her. And it was a really busy road she walked along, so that was weird. And the police got the name of the road wrong anyway when they did their appeal. Another mistake they made.
And 9:33, the phone was discovered, still connected on a bench with her dog, which was dry. Nicola was nowhere to be seen. So she had been in that field because she had been seen. She had been on her phone and she'd gone. You arrive as the inspector. That is the information you're going to have.
I mean, straight away, if I look back on my whole career, and I'm sure that you've dealt with many missing persons before you became, you know, a police search advisor.
Yep.
Straight away, this is odd. Those circumstances are peculiar.
They are peculiar. The phone still being connected would flag to me on scene, not as a pollster, but as a police officer. The phone's.
The other thing he hasn't mentioned, I'm not sure if he's going to or not, but I'm pretty sure that there was more than one person involved in finding the phone and the dog lead, because it was like Penny, who lived in the caravan site or operated the caravan site, and then she got her brother-in-law or her sister-in-law involved, and then they started making phone calls. So it was a mess from the start. They haven't got it straight as to exactly how the stuff was found, who found it, who tied up the dog. That has all been inconsistent as far as I know.
Still being connected would flag it to me. The dog being dry would flag it to me. And the location would definitely flag it to me. Now, people go missing for myriads of reasons. But you as the inspector is first on scene, or as the PC first on scene, have got to tell me what you found and what you see. And all I need to know is, where are you? When was she last seen? Where was she last seen? Those are really important. Place last seen is vital.
Okay. Just prior to that, then, because I've not pressed the button and called him Frankie yet in this hypothetical comparison, there are a number of red flags there. I'm immediately, this is a major incident, critical incident. Call it what you like. This is a major incident. Yeah.
Well, I think what was done correctly from the outset, well, it was deemed high risk. Miss Purse come low, medium, and high, and this was deemed high risk. I think, is it a critical incident straight away? I don't know, but it's definitely a high risk, which should invoke police search advisor being called, search teams being implemented, and the wilderness dog being thrown at that scene. And I say scene.
Okay. So if we now go back to the reality of what Lancashire Police did in those earlier stages, what did they do?
Well, the first thing they didn't do was they did not designate a search area as a crime scene, and they did not cordon it off. And looking at the report, they found a dog lead, a phone, and the dog on a bench close to the river. Now, that's not where she was seen last. It would appear all the eggs were put in that basket, and the original and only...
Yeah, but they didn't find that. Those items were found by other people, and that's what I'm saying. That was never made clear who found what and who placed what where.
The hypothesis was she's gone in the river. That's it. And they set the area. The search of that area began with one hypothesis.
So they didn't cordon it off,
Nope.
and they just thought one outcome. Is that correct?
Yes, a single hypothesis that was agreed with by the senior officer, and that hypothesis was that Nicola Bulley had gone in the river.
So, Frankie, am I suggesting by you saying singular hypothesis that if you'd attended the scene, you'd have had more than just one hypothesis?
So, I was very lucky that I attended many courses as a police search advisor, and one of them was a brilliant course about land search management for MISPERS. And the national, the police search school, and they know about these courses. They put us on them. Now, missing persons, you should always have, in my opinion, and according to this book, 3 hypotheses. And the hypotheses are very simple. First, entered water by purpose, by accident, or by force. And they sort of worked on that she'd gone in the water. My second hypothesis, quite broad, she's elsewhere, by crime or by choice. And the third hypothesis, there has been criminal activity, kidnap, etc. So you work on three hypotheses. As the pulsar, I would be dealing with the first one, entered water, search area, search land, get the divers in, etc. And the other two hypotheses, I would hand back to the SIO for CID or someone else to investigate. Is she elsewhere by crime or other, or has there been criminal activity in this case? Those are the three hypotheses I would put forward. I've done it many, many times.
Are you saying that?
I just don't know. Like, I haven't had any experience of reporting someone missing, but I find it very hard to believe that so many people go missing. That they're going to take such immediate dramatic action for something. Like, that just doesn't sound like how the police works. Definitely not in the UK. But that's how he's saying it.
In the case of Nicola Bulley, then, the pulsar or Lancashire Police only worked on one.
Yes. They put all their eggs in one basket.
So was there a failure at that point of the pulsar?
In my opinion, there was a lack of vision, because you put all your eggs in one basket, regardless of the outcome, that's all you've got to go on. There's no other part of the investigation, no other thought process gone in. So what else could have happened to Nick?
I agree that they could have done a much better job in reporting the evidence at the scene and making notes of how things were at the scene. But they didn't do anything like that.
Now, as it turns out, she had gone in the water, but we still, to this day, do not know why. And I think, had we had those the other two hypotheses looked at, then we may have had more answers.
So would it be right in summarising at this point then, Frankie, there were clear deficiencies in Lancashire's operational plan for this particular missing person?
I think the decision-making from the outset on that first day was poor.
Okay, thank you. Now, prior to Peter arriving a little bit later, and I'll invite Peter back in a moment, what happened then from the 27th of January until Peter arrived on February the 6th?
Well, what happened was the area was searched and the river was searched, and nothing was found apart from the dog lead, the phone, and the dog, which were all found on the bench, which I have to stress again was not the place last seen.
Okay, Frankie,
a press advisor. Hang on 2 seconds, Ian. A press advisor was not appointed, and it was never cordoned off. The place was swamped with members of the public and press. That would not have happened if I'd have run that job.
Frankie, this might be a tough question for you, but marks out of 10 at the moment for Lancashire Police in their deployment and operational credibility at this stage.
Grading it high risk was a good decision. They did not react to the high risk. So my score would be very low, less than 5.
Okay, thank you, Frankie. Peter, if I can invite you back into the discussion.
Before that, we have got some more comments going on. Blank faces. Hello. If they only had one theory, why did they search the outbuilding? Well, wasn't that hello? Wasn't that Paul that said, I want every building searched? Also, a lot of this stuff happened because of the media. That's the point I was trying to make earlier, Blank Faces, is that I watched another documentary over Christmas about another woman that went missing in 2011 called Jo Yates. And what it showed was that the media put the police under a lot of pressure to do stupid things. I mean, well, they use that as an excuse. I mean, obviously, if the police knew what they were doing, they wouldn't do that. But do you know what I mean? The police and the media are both as bad as each other when it comes to like really what they should be doing if they were doing what they're supposed to do. I just realized my camera's off. Is going out there to look for people, but they seem to spend way too much time worrying about what it looks like to people, about their image, about who's in charge, about who can say what, and all of that. And this has obviously been going on for years, and they've obviously never learned any lessons from it. What's this? PF also has a second set of live sonar from 10:32 a.m., but has only ever shown one screenshot, which is very different from the one he is showing. Oh, okay. Where did you see that? Blank faces. Yeah, my point about the media is that I don't particularly like all of these documentaries coming out that are blaming social media people that use social media, people like me, because I'm sorry, I use social media, yeah. And we are being controlled enough as it is without even more restrictions coming in on how social media can be used. Because what's happening is we're in a situation now where there's so few trustworthy sources, and it's becoming so apparent that most of the big channels are financially controlled. They are therefore under pressure to put out more propaganda. So anyone that's actually independent and has a free voice and still has a free brain not being allowed to speak, I don't think that is a good thing at all. So that's my viewpoint on that. But yeah, let me know where you saw that he has this other footage, because I've not heard about that, if you don't mind.
How did you become involved in the search for Nicola Bulley?
We got a call on Sunday from as you know, we got a big following on our professional Facebook page, Specialist Group International. So we get messages all the time about families. And what people need to realise is we were the official underwater search team for Thames Valley.
It's on his website. Okay, I'm going to look it up.
Police, Hampshire Police, Surrey Police, Sussex Police, Kent and Essex Police. We covered the whole of the southeast of England for police diving operations, not being called by members of the public, but actually being brought in and paid by the police to conduct search operations for, you know, murder, missing people, and evidence as well. So we don't just turn up at jobs. We are brought in by the police. And so we got a call on. I think I've done an interview on Sky News, a couple of interviews. They always ring me and just said, and I don't get paid for these. You know, they're just, could you comment on this? And I said from day one I was baffled. So if Nicola had gone in the,
he said he doesn't get paid, but that's literally how he promotes his business. So you know, that's the argument that a lot of content creators use. Well, I don't get paid. I didn't get paid. Yeah, but you knew it was going to boost your ratings. You knew it was going to enhance your visibility if you said that, if you talked about it.
River, if she's gone in the river, she should have been found by now, because the river's not moving fast. There was lots of video of the river. It's not moving, and she's going to be in the hot zone, the area where she fell in. Simple as that. Somewhere if she fell in. So I got a call from a very frustrated sort of partner, Paul Ansell, on the Monday. He was frustrated with the police search operation and lack of information. And he asked me to go up. He said, how much you want? I said, well, we'll help you. I don't mind. We'll come up free of charge. We'll assist you, because I really did feel for this family. Got 2 little girls. So I'll fund it as long as you can put us in accommodation. So Emma agreed to put team up at the farm. I paid for my hotel locally, but I said, we can't come up. I can't barge into a police operation. We've got to be formally invited in. So he spoke to the police. apparently very reluctant. And I got a call the afternoon from the Pulsar, had a chat. He said, you know, you're responsible for your own health and safety. We will give you the area to go, but you are working on your own, basically. And he sent me an email and he asked me to keep, obviously, operational information confidential. Operational information is on a fine. So if we found anything, that was to be kept confidential, as you would anyway. And I want to stress, normally we don't talk to the media at all. We're working under the police, and we wouldn't do that. So I said we can come up, and the team went up that afternoon. I went up on Monday morning, and that's how I got involved.
So thank you. Can I just pick up?
Also, I know that he was on a channel, because I saw this on a video at the time. He was on a channel and he was saying, if I went in that river, I'd know within 5 minutes whether the body was there. He was making some very bold statements. I don't think he said that just then. But I just wanted to pause for a moment, because I'm literally looking at his website. Thank you to Blank Faces for pointing this out. This is on his website, and it's a PDF of an email he sent on 11th September 23 to the coroner. So he says, on Tuesday, the 29th of August 2023, I was approached for my views by the National College of Policing, who are reporting into the conduct and procedures of Lancashire Police during the Nicola Bulley case for the Lancashire Police and Crime Commissioner. At that time, I provided copies of evidence that I started side scan sonar search in the hot zone south of the bench at 10:26 hours. At 10:32 hours, I identified a positive target showing legs. After further scans, I measured the target to be 1.6 meters in length, seeing enclosure 1 and 2 of the likely location of the body. This was days before her body was discovered by police in shallows in the lower tidal section of the river. I was shocked to hear that the NCP had no record of this and had not seen this evidence previously. This evidence was disclosed to the police search advisor. The Poiser was James Pinder, or Pulsar, or whatever they call it, at 10:53 on the 7th of February 2023, see enclosure 3. The Northwest Underwater Search Unit briefly dived the area. I was not present during the dive as I was continuing to sonar upstream, but I believe they either missed the body or possibly searched the wrong area. I am positive about this as I rescanned the area at 17:16 hours on the 7th of February. After the police team said they had searched the area I had identified, and at that time there was no evidence of any search activity having taken place around the target. Therefore, I feel duty bound to bring this to your attention, as I suspect that similarly to the NCP team, you may not have seen this evidence either, and therefore, whilst it may or may not change the verdict, I believe it is important in your role that you are made aware of all the evidence in this case. So then there's a text he sends to the Pulsar at, let's see what the time is. 6:22, is that? Thanks, Peter. Oh, good morning, James. That was in the morning. Thanks, Peter. I am not aware of this report. We've had several others that have been reported, checked and negated. I will get someone to contact her as soon as I'm in, and we'll get to the bottom of this one. 6:28. 10:53. Yeah, that's the image. Good evening, James. I'm just leaving site. Upper River clear. Are you on site in the morning? Yes, I'll be there in the morning. Ring if you need anything. Okay, that's that. Okay, so that's all his bits that he sent to the coroner. Thank you so much for that. I didn't even know. I didn't even know it was there.
Family to contact you.
There's been for many years now. There's been a couple of national search advisors and police dive teams who don't want us out there helping. It became apparent after the Ellis Downs case when.
Yeah, he's going to start talking about another case right now. You did so much research, even contact Marine Sonic, who made the sonar device. Wow. See, this is the thing. I didn't know anything about it, and anyone I tried to ask wouldn't talk to me. So what did they say? I do think it's odd that he's still using the equipment from 20 years ago. Oh, thank you so much. That's really nice of you to say. You've been watching my channel for a while. Yeah, I mean, I like to keep an open mind on this stuff, honestly, but I haven't seen the footage properly, so that's why I'm doing this live. I've skimmed through it, but I wouldn't be confident to say what image looks different from another at this point. So I'm going to crack on with watching it. But yeah, I noticed Peter Faulding uses a lot of emotional manipulation with his presentation.
The ACPO dive committee got involved. Association of Chief Police Officers do not use STI. Ellis was left laying in the river, as Frankie will know, for 3 days. No dive team. They disbanded their own unit. We got called. Now, this was prior to us being taken on to do their diving. And they failed Ellis and his family, and they couldn't find him. So we found him in 40 minutes. But it was in that was very clear that the police search advisor didn't want to stay. He was an ex-police diver, and then it went. ACPO dive committee stepped in. Do not let SGI dive. The Met stepped in. Do not let SGI. So it's an ego issue. And the same National Police Search Advisor was actually on this job, and I've never met him once, but again, it happened more recently on the case where we got invited in to look for a 2-year-old boy in Xylo by Leicestershire Police. The family wanted us. Leicestershire Police let us in with open arms, but whilst we were there, bearing in mind this was a 2-year-old boy was missing, the Assistant Chief Constable welcomed us in, worked with us. It was a brilliant operation. And the College of Policing called her and said, do not use SGI. This was post Nicola Bulley. And the National Police Search Advisor turned up and said, do not let these people in. So again, this is clearly what's happening. And I've got evidence of that. So yeah, this is pretty sad, really.
I don't know what it is, but there's something about him. I just feel we're not getting the full story.
Can I just come in just as a former pollster, I can say that the use of volunteers, even when I was in Thames Valley, lowland search and rescue teams, is essential to large-scale, high-risk searches. Now, Thames Valley Police had a dive team when I was in. They now don't have a dive team. So the use of external companies for diving and for searching for high-risk mispairs is essential. I used lowland rescue search and rescue teams because it's just the way of the world. Police services do not have the numbers, the immediate numbers you need to search large areas of land, and volunteers and outside agencies come in and they help and they assist. They're all qualified and they all know what they're doing. Peter, may I ask you a question, please? You said,
But you know what? That's part of the problem, because the police and the community are so segregated now. Like, no one really trusts the police. Well, very few people trust the police. And it's because the police take over and they walk into communities where they don't even know people. People in communities know their people the best. Do you know what I mean? So this is all this is doing, this conversation is highlighting the mistakes that have been made. This is going back decades now. Decades. Because you're bringing in people from outside agencies, and clearly there's some kind of trust issues they're talking about. He's not really specifying, but that's the vibe I'm getting.
you said Nicola Bulley's partner was frustrated with the search. Why was he frustrated, and exactly with what was he frustrated about?
Well, they couldn't, 10 days and they couldn't find her, you know, and everything was pointing at the river. Well, from the police point of view, you know, I always thought the phone could be a decoy. I didn't know, but if she went in the river, she would have been found. I mean, it was not moving. She could not have got washed over the weir. She could not have, if she'd gone in at the bench. And what we can do, we can, you know, the water in front of the bench was so shallow. If she had fallen in there, she would have stood up.
So my initial search scene, Peter, my initial search scene would have been 250 meters around place last seen, and that's a really good hands and knees, you know, less than a meter critical space in line search down to the river, divers in the river. In that, would that bench have been within my 250 meter search from that place last seen in the field?
Yes, it would. Yeah, the place last seen was within sort of 75 meters of. She was in the scene in the top part of the field near the caravan park. Last seen.
Okay, and one other quick question. You mentioned you were briefed, and I use that word very loosely. Were you at any time asked to attend a briefing away from the scene in a sterile environment, in a police station or whatever, to discuss this with the Pulsar and the SIO?
No, when I got there, the first thing I requested was a press officer to deal with the media, because they were everywhere. They were very polite to me, but we had drones flying over our heads. We'd done all sorts. I asked for a press officer, and I asked at the same time to meet the SIO, and said she won't talk to you. And that was as blunt as that.
She won't talk to you.
Won't talk to you. That's it. So I'm used to, as you know, from Thames Valley. Normally the SIO will come up, he'll give us a full brief in cell site analysis, every bit of information we will get given, so to allow us to do our job properly.
Yeah, we sit down, we have a brief, we have a chat. When it gets to the point, when it gets to the point the searchers aren't needed any longer in the briefing, they leave the briefing because they've got the information they need. But it's done in a sterile place. It's not done in a field.
No, it's not. And we had nothing. We had no support whatsoever. And all he said is that first morning we got there was, I want you to search downriver to Carpet Bridge. I said, I want to search the hot zone. He said, no, we've done it. Now, those who aren't police or whatever, the hot zone is the area where she was sort of placed last seen, that whole area. Now, what is interesting, Frankie, is that from the bench upriver, from the bench up to Rowan Water Caravan Park, where we were tasked to search on day 2, which I'll come on to, that had not been searched at all, that part of the river, since she went missing in 10 days. So again, the Pulsar assumed on day 1, and bearing in mind, the Pulsar's not a diver, he's not a water expert, he assumed that she'd gone over the river, over the weir on day 1.
You see, I'm not a diver, never was. I worked with the dive team in Thames Valley, and
that's right.
The jobs I was Pulsar, and all my fellow Pulsars, when we had water-related jobs, we would sit down with either the sergeant from the dive team or whoever was on call from the dive team that day, and we would discuss and agree search parameters.
Someone got your Google account deleted? Oh, honestly, Google's been doing my head in recently. That's another story for another day. But with my own business that's separate from this channel, they are doing me dirty. It's just really becoming impossible these days to do anything with all this technology, is my opinion.
It's very important because as the pulsar, I've got to stick that in my log. The pulsar log is an evidential log that a police search advisor should fill out from the second they get that phone call to the second the job finishes.
Yeah, if they had logged everything and written everything down, and they had a system in place where it could all be transparent and everyone knew what everyone was doing, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't be in this mess. It's very obvious. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it's like the obvious things don't get stated, but it seems to me like there was so much media there. The police were like, "Shit, we better make it look like we're doing something." That's what it seems like to me. Because I think on the first day, when I researched it way back in 2024, from what I could see, the initial search, which was done by one of their voluntary partners, was very short. It was only a few hours on the Friday. And then over the weekend, nothing happened. And then it was this following week where they started calling Sky News and everything, that all these people started coming to the village, that the story started to build and build until it got out of hand. That's if my memory serves correct.
And that's, you put every detail. You put search decisions, you put gridding, you put staff, you put phone calls, you put questions, you put everything, agreements, disagreements, everything.
Absolutely, everything in that log, and again we kept a running log as well. What was happening? My dive supervisor on the ground was John, who was ex-Sussex Police, so he kept a handwritten log of everything what was happening on the ground.
So,
Okay,
Frankie,
but what can I just ask? What was their reasoning for not letting you dive the hot zone within that area they thought was the hot zone?
Right, the first day we were tasked with searching from the weir down towards the sea, and I looked across at the weir firstly, and I said, she couldn't have got over this weir, impossible. So we're really just going downstream. It's really, really shallow.
They just wanted him out of the way. That's what I think. They were like, you gotta do that bit miles away where no one can see you.
The way down. So this part, I want to explain, this part was tidal section of the river. The lower section of the river over the weir, not where Nicola, where we located. This was tidal, but it's very slow, like 10, 12 miles from the sea. So it's a long way up. And the tide goes out down there, very low, and you would see a body on the bottom. We sonared it, there was nothing there. We had to get out the boat because the water was so shallow at Cartford Bridge. We couldn't go any further. It was down to stones. And you know, from your background, that human remains dog, drones, helicopters, you know, looking from the air, you can see down through the river. In that part of the river, she would have been seen and found by now because the scent from the dogs, etc.
So do you think you were sent there? Do you think you were sent there just because you've been called by the family and the police hadn't called you? They just sent you down there to give you something to do.
That's all they did. They wanted. They didn't. This is the interesting point. So they just give us that area to do just to keep us busy. Now, day two, he briefed me the night before, said tomorrow morning, he sent me a message. You're to go to Rowan Water. That's where you can launch the boat. And I want you to search from the bench up to Rowan Water Caravan Park. That area has not been searched. And I said, well, I'd like to search the hot zone in front of the bench. He said, no, you're not to do that area because we've done it and it's been well searched. And at that stage, I just thought it was a bit odd. So there was no police activity going.
It is very weird that they were like being so protective over that area. I'm not going to lie.
On whatsoever. There was no search officers around. And
so no land searching.
The Sun newspaper, a guy called Dave said to me, he said, Peter, he said, we've seen nothing going on for days up here. Not seen anything.
We have to presume.
I mean, can we just say the Sun newspaper? Yeah, I wouldn't really trust the Sun newspaper as being a reliable source. But Peter does love a right-wing media outlet, I've noticed.
I mean, I don't know because it doesn't say anywhere that I can find. It does say searches commenced. I have to presume as a search advisor that line searches were done across the field up to the riverbank and on the other side of the riverbank within that 250 metre, which is my critical spacing.
They may have been done on the first couple of days, but not when we were there. There was nothing going on.
Okay.
Gentlemen, let's just take stock of where we are at the moment for our listeners, because we're sort of erring into day 2, and I think I'd just like to cut off a few of the sort of inquiries that we've looked at so far and make some sense, because we have inevitably used police jargon with hot zones, etc., in there. But in terms of your arrival, Peter, how would you sum up your reception by the police? Was it a welcoming one, or you were dismissed?
Dismissed straight away. It wasn't welcoming at all.
Right.
It was the
Excellent.
language. It was not. I'm used to being greeted by police search advisors with energy and giving us a full briefing, and they want us there to help them bring closure to the family, and that's the important bit that we did not get.
That is,
And that's the object.
That is
The
the important
objectivity of any missing person is to find the person.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's the objectivity
I'm
of any missing person.
I'm sensing, Frankie, that you're rightly agitated about this issue with the police. Would I be fair in saying they were bang out of order at this stage?
Yeah. I mean, Peter was there on.
To be fair as well, like we're thinking back to it, because like I said, this was kind of one of the first like true crime stories that I saw. I really got it involved in watching as it played out. And I do remember a lot of those people that were going up to that area, they genuinely were trying to help look for her. Maybe not all of them, but some of them definitely were. They've not really mentioned that. They just said they were all like TikTok sleuths or whatever. But I really believe some people genuinely were trying to help.
Day 9, I think you arrived, Peter. Day 10, day 9.
So we arrived on
okay.
Monday the 6th. Yeah.
And I think it's very important to say that the 9 days before that would have been really important for Peter to know what had happened in those 9 days from the search advisor.
Also, this sounds odd to me, but the briefing by the Pulsar that you're responsible for your own health and safety and basically you're on your own, that tends to stink to me. Frankie, what's your views on that?
Well, at worst, I would have briefed Peter in the back of the search van with the doors closed, privacy, and at best, the briefing would have been in a police station. But the briefing should have been to the nth degree detailed to what has happened and what we expect to happen and what we would like. When we have lowland search rescues in or civvy dive teams in, they should be told what has happened. Otherwise, what is the point in having them there? Let's not have secrets. This is a missing person we're looking for. So tell everybody everything they need to know to find this person.
Okay, but in terms of you're on your own for health and safety, is that fair for Lancashire Police to say?
No, absolutely not. Every time I did a search with external agencies, Lowland Search Rescues, the Lowland Dogs, they had their own policies, their own health and safety, but they always came under the police umbrella. And the Pulsar was always responsible for every part of that search. Police, civvies, keeping the press out, everything. The Pulsar's job is to control that search scene.
Okay. You mentioned the word ego, Peter, earlier on. And in my sort of introduction to this particular podcast, I reflected on what I felt that the police were like 25 years ago. And it makes me angry that somebody that's there to help and meet the very fragile needs of the family, that you treated this way. But my understanding is this wasn't the first time you were dismissed. You mentioned about Ellis Downs. Can you just briefly tell us what your reception was from Thames Valley Police when you got there on that occasion?
Well, Ellis Downs went missing 2016.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward this bit because
grass will be on fire in the morning. And he let me through. He said, I apologised. And everybody just stood there looking at us. The family were there. This was 3 o'clock.
Basically, he's saying he went to help on another search in 2016. There was an argument. The police wouldn't let him search. The family were crying. I don't know about Peter. He seems to not be the most easiest person to get along with. just going by what he tells, how he tells it. Like, he's a bit like, I don't know, there's something about him. There's something about him.
In the afternoon, and many requests were made to TVP, refused to let us dive. And it got to 8 o'clock at night. The family surrounded the police car in a friendly inspector who just on a changeover and said, please let us dive, let this team dive to recover my son. This is the dad. He was in tears laying across the bonnet. And it turned to critical incident. And they then said, let them dive. And you know what? I asked for some floodlights. We left our floodlights back because we thought we'd be over and done within a couple of hours. And I asked for some lights, said we don't lend civilians lights. I was
Not
thinking,
true.
Yeah, no, that's not true at all. And then after that we dived. Anyway, sadly we recovered Ellis within 40 minutes, literally where he went down, where he drowned. In a witness drowning, they couldn't find him.
The other thing I want to say about it as well is, like, he really is being so critical of the police, but in all the other interviews I've watched of him, he's always like, I love the police. I'm friends with the police. Some of the police are my best friends. Some of the police work for me. So, pick a side, Peter.
And the following morning, they referred themselves to the IOPC, apologized on YouTube. We were then taken on a few months later to be the official dive team for Thames Valley Police. But the IOPC report was scathing into them, and it could see the egos. It was the police search advisor advising the superintendent. Now, Rawley was the superintendent. I went and spoke up RAF up for Hayford to senior investigating officers and senior officers, and up to chief constable level. And I was doing a presentation of what we do, post us being, brought on as their dive team. And they said, this was the funny thing, Rory come up to me, he said, may I apologise on behalf of myself and Thames Valley afterwards. I was given false information by my police search advisor that you weren't an incredible team. And I had to make them decisions based on him. And he said, Peter, I'll shake your hand. He said, I am so sorry for what I did that day. And he said, I feel ashamed. But he said, that information comes through a police search advisor to discredit you effectively. And that's how bad it was. So, again, what it is, it's the same with the Nicola Bulley case. It's certain people are now causing huge reputational damage to the British police force because senior leaders won't admit their mistakes. That's the problem. They can't admit they got it wrong and they failed to cite. So what's happening now? Everyone is going, cops, got it wrong. Here we go. Lies, lies, lies. And it's sad because I've got many friends in the police. It's a very sad state of affairs.
It's beyond astonishing, Peter. And it strikes me that certainly in the Ellis Downs case, and I believe in Nicola Bulley's case, that certain police officers are playing roulette with family tragedies and taking their eyes completely off the ball that Frankie reaffirmed of bringing this to a closure as quickly as possible.
This was the reason why I wanted to do this live tonight as well, because I'm going to do like a little series. I'm really going to try and do it over the next few nights and showing other examples where this has been going on for years. This is nothing new. The police have been incompetent for years. And they've used the media as an excuse to say, oh, the media messed it up. But I don't believe that. I believe that the whole thing is how our country's run, it's how institutions are run. But anyway, that's why I wanted to show this, because it's like the most recent example, but it's suddenly like you realize this has been going on and on and on.
But it also, with many forces now disbanding their marine functionality, you offer a service which is peerless in terms of its technical expertise and technical reach. Yet you're getting these doors closed in your face with such force. And I am pretty lost for words. And for a person that talks for a living, that's a pretty unique place for me to be in. But just a couple of technical things, Peter, I want to cover off. You used the term CT. I take that's counter-terrorism, what you were referring to. But also, you talk about the hot zone. And I think it'd be really useful for listeners to understand how a body reacts falling into water and how it can be determined from those facts alone, the proximity of where that body may well be in relation to the last place that they were seen. So perhaps you could expand a little bit on the hot zone for our listeners, please.
Yeah, so we, on average, deal with about 10 drowning victims a year across 6 counties, and they're always within, unless it's a raging torrent. I mean, let me make it clear. If it was a raging torrent, I mean, after severe floods, then things can move along the.
How many people drown in the UK? I think I looked it up. I had a guy come into my comments and give me some figure about drowning, and I looked it up, and I'm going to have to go back and check. But 10 doesn't sound like that many.
Bottom, but it still takes time for them people to move. Normally, when you're dealing with a drowning victim, place last seen, you put the sonar in. We normally locate them within 10-15 minutes. You put a diver in, and on most jobs we do, they're recovered within 3 hours as well. Very quick location. So yeah, the hot zone is, body goes in, they go to the bottom, and they might struggle for a few minutes. They might try and swim and stay up, which will move them naturally within the water. But once they sadly take that gasp, they go to the bottom very, very quickly, and they will stay there. They won't move. In a river with no flow, they will stay where they go in. It will. Now, there's no exact science on this. It could be 5 days, it could be 10 days, it could be 30 days, it could be 3 months. It depends on the body makeup. And some people float quicker than others. Some can come up within 6 days, and some can be far longer. We dealt with one in Thames Valley that took 3 months to come up. His body was tied to a case on a bit of rope, and it eventually floated to the surface. But they will stay down. They won't move. They don't, like in a John Wayne film, get shot and go flying off down the river. It doesn't happen like that. And they drown. And the College of Policing review said actually most drowning victims or most victims of water are found within 100-meter radius of where they go in, and that's true, and that's where they are.
Which would have been within the 250-meter fingertip search or really intense search area.
Yeah, absolutely, Frankie. So that's an important thing to note. They even acknowledge that. Right.
So getting back to the timeline then, gentlemen, you are basically, your reception by the police is no more than begrudging, probably a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
You're told you're on your own, and they task you to look at a piece of river that is outside this hot zone, I take it.
Yeah, that's correct.
What would be their reasoning behind that then? I don't get that. If the College of Policing is saying, most people that enter the water are within a proximity of what is it, 100 meters, did you say? Why would they then say, go on, check something further downstream or down the river?
And that's what we still can't understand. Shall I take you on to day 2? This is probably the most interesting bit. So we've done day 1.
Please,
down Cartmel Bridge. So we launched that boat.
Peter, just stress, this is your day 2 and not day 2 of the investigation.
No,
this is day 10 or 11 of the investigation.
That's correct. So this is Tuesday the 7th of February 2023. So we launched the boats, get our sonar, all the equipment on, and we then start going down river. I said to the team, right, police have gone, there's no one around. Take me. I was being a bit naughty. Take me into the hot zone. We're going to search that area. I don't care what anyone says. If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. It's as simple as that. We're going to go down there. So I said, take me down towards the weir, as far as we can get towards the weir first, and we're going to come up river. So we got down there, and as we got down, we got to imagine the bench is up here. It goes down river, and then it goes around a sharp right-hand bend and leads about another 100 meters to the weir. Now, once you get round the corner to the weir, you'll see we've got some images we can, show, but it cuts in with very, very shallow. So you couldn't even get a boat past that bit.
That was the bit I was just showing in the video at the beginning of the swimmers. Like, you could see how shallow it was most of the way. It came up to their shins.
So we started the sonar up, said, right, take me up from the bottom corner, take me up towards the bench. So we started our search at approximately 10:28-ish, and we started going upriver. A couple of minutes later, I saw a big shadow cast, and I went past it, and I said to my team, something here, just we'll come back, I want to get a bit of a picture. So then we went up to the bench, we turned around at the bench, and then we started to come back downriver. I've already put a place marker on the shadow, and I've come back downriver, and as we, around near the bench area, there was there's a big tree on the bottom. You can see it very clearly, tree and branches. And we went down the river, and then just as we get down towards this area, I got this huge target, which I'm only too familiar with. It's two arms sticking out like that. We can just see a head in the middle. Very, very clear to me. And I said to the team, I think we found her. And I said, right, take me back round again. We'll do some more scan before I let the police search advisor know. So that's what we did. So we got a couple of scans, but I couldn't quite see the body. I could see shadows, but I couldn't. We needed to move. But I thought that's good enough for me at this stage. We just need to get a diver in. So I immediately 10:53 rang the police search advisor, sent him a screenshot image of the actual arms. No, I rang him and I said, I think we found her, and we need to put our divers in now in case she moves. And he said, you are not to dive. You are not to dive. We will dive. And
did he say that almost instantly, Peter?
Straight away, yeah. Yeah, it was straight away.
That's what he's talking about. But that says 19. Was that 10 or? Looks like a 9. Definitely says 1940. Oh no, 10:53. 10:53, yeah. And then at the end of the day, he sends another message. Weird. So I don't see anything about you're not to dive. Anyway.
He rang, I think on the day he rang me back, that he wouldn't let us dive, which I thought, well, fair enough. It is their operation, because he said, I'll bring our own divers in. I thought, well, okay, that's fair comment. You know, they've got their own dive team, but they're going to be 2.5 hours or whatever. They're further down near the sea, because they were driving around in their boats in the bay down near the Morecambe Bay. And it's like, why are they down there? There's no way she could have got down there if she was down there anyway. And in the sea, we all know it's a bit of a waste of time because it's just a big open area.
Wasn't there some other thing in a car park as well? Like they did some search in a car park. I remember. I just think the police are a joke.
Anyway, we waited for them, and what we did, we placed a stick on the bank. We would normally put a shot floating in the water, but it didn't want to alert the press. So I stuck a stick in the bank, and then
so the press was still there, Peter, all over the place.
The press were all over the place, but they're up near the bench. They were watching us, photographing us, and and it was just constant with media. So anyway, I went. We placed a stick on the riverbank. Now, what you got to realise is GPS readings from my laptop are from where my boat is, not from where the towfish is at the back. So you've got a bit of GPS fluctuation of 2 to 5 meters. Plus, you've got what they call layback of where the towfish is from the computer to the back. So it's a rough area. That stick is not dead accurate to say she's there. it's within that area. So you need to put a proper jack stay search in. So the dive team turned up. They gave the police, the supervisor, a quick briefing, and they all got round in a huddle on the opposite side of the bank, really close knit sort of thing. They all got together, started talking, and I thought, well, I'm just going to let them get on with it. We'll carry on up the river to take the media interest away from the actual divers, because this was the only operational piece of information that I had. So I thought, well, let them dive. And John, my supervisor, watched the dive, and Lee dive. So they done a very, very quick dive. They didn't even use a jack stay, which is unusual, because normally you would put a jack stay across the river and you would swim the line. It's a systematic search of that area. You'd swim back. They put no jack stay in the water.
Yeah, it's like a grid search, isn't it?
It's a grid search. And one of my team, Lee, he called it a chip shot dive. It was very quick. And then I got a phone call from my supervisor to say, Pete, just to let you know, there's nothing there. And I've gone, what do you mean nothing there? And I said to my team, it can't be nothing. Sonar images cannot be created by nothing. So if you stand in a field with sun behind you or at night with the moon, you would cast a shadow. So everything casts a shadow. It's impossible to stand there and not create a shadow. So the sonar works on sound waves. Now, you've got to bear in mind, I pioneered this in the UK, so I'm fully aware of how it works and what I'm looking at. And anyway, I then we needed a cup of tea. It was freezing cold, so I said, let's go and get a brew, and we'll come back to this and have a debrief. So I climbed out the riverbank, and the member of the TV News caught me. And she said, Peter, do you mind if we do a quick interview? Now, this is how bad it was. No media officer. The police weren't briefing any.
GB News is not a news station, by the way, Peter. It's a propaganda station, just FYI, but carry on.
Anybody. They weren't updating anybody, only occasionally. Lack of information's going out. So not one, and in the College of Police and Review, it said that Peter Faulding took the place of the media, etc., etc. And we briefed him not to. No one ever told me. If a police officer turned around to me and said, Peter, please do not talk to the media. You are to remain confidential. I wouldn't have done that.
He went against procedure because they normally drop a floating marker and stick a stick in the riverbank. I mean, the thing I'm thinking of is, like, if it was the body, wouldn't they want to, like, move the press and everybody out of the way to, like, say, look, we need some privacy here or something, like some kind of give her some dignity or some discretion going on? Like, that just does sound really dodgy. But also the other thing that I forgot to mention is you can see in the footage by the riverbank that there's been arguments about how steep it was. It is not steep. And you got all them people milling about. Like, I don't think anyone fell in. So anyone that says, oh, she fell in, I just don't see it personally. Like, it doesn't seem to be a dangerous sight from what we see. So that's why there's so many arguments about it.
You know me, and I mean, it just wouldn't happen. More than my reputation were. But I wasn't.
Can I just say, had that scene have been cordoned off, no media there, this would never have happened.
Correct. It would never have happened. They wouldn't put cordons in. They wouldn't do anything. And everyone's sitting on the bench. I mean, there was, there could have been trace evidence at the bench and all sorts, as we know. So anyway, I got out, and she said, Piers, so is there anything? I said, well, we categorically state there's nothing in this river, because we'd searched the lower part, searched it, and the police diver just told me there's nothing there. I thought, and then I walked back with the team. I thought, what have I just said? And anyway.
Oh, someone fell in? A number of people fell over when at the scene. Yeah, but no one fell in the river, did they? I mean, if they did, that's what I'm saying. Like, I always said as well, like, why didn't they use a dummy or something to show, like, how it could have happened? Like, not fell in, fell over. Oh, right, yeah. I mean, I do remember it was kind of crazy, but there's just a lot of different versions of.
I said, there's something's not right here. We're going to go back. I don't believe this diver. We're going to go back. And Lee said, do you know what, Pete? He said, that's no way was that a thorough search. It was too quick. Absolutely too. And he's a diver, too quick to do anything. And I don't think they're in the right. They've just gone in. There's something stinks here. So then we went back down that afternoon when there was no police around. I said, take me, the police divers packed up, take me really close to the bank, because what we need to do, we probably need to hit the bank. I want to see what's creating that shadow. I need to see what's actually creating it. So we went down and we got a really good picture of you can see something laying there. And I knew in my own mind that was a body. And I said, we've got to put the divers in tomorrow morning. I'll request to dive in the morning. We're going to put the sonar in. We're going to dive.
This is crazy. Honestly, I just don't know what to make of it.
And I said, what we'll do, we'll use the excuse of going in the weir and we'll work our way upriver, because they clearly don't want us in this hot zone, because they didn't want us in the hot zone. That was raising my suspicions. They did not want us there. I thought if we go in at the weir, when they've gone, we can work our way upriver and locate what I've actually found. So I said to them the following morning, right, we're going to go in. We're going to put our divers in at the weir. And this is all in handwritten notes that John kept. And it had already been searched. They said, you don't need to go in now. So I want to rescan the area. No, you have to go home today. That's it. Clear as that. And
what was the reasoning for that?
No reason. It was just, you finish your search now. We've searched everything. You're to go home. They did not want us to go back to rescan that. I knew they knew we found her. I just knew from that point that
when you first found the anomaly with the sonar in the river, Peter, did you or your dive supervisor speak to the police dive teams and brief them about what you found and where it was?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. On the side of the bank. Yes, we did. And I showed them the sonar image, because at that point, they then went round the other side of the riverbank set up. And I'll never forget them. They all got round in a really closed huddle so nobody could see them talking. It was a little circle, and which was really odd. It was really literally all closed in.
So procedurally, you've done the right thing. You have told the Pulsar, as I said earlier, the Pulsar is a single point of contact for all search teams and SIOs. The Pulsar has then immediately said you're not diving.
Yep.
You have again followed procedure by briefing the dive teams.
Yep.
And that's it. That's you've been cast aside. And as far as you know, the Pulsar didn't speak to the SIO to discuss whether you should go in the water there and then or not.
I don't know because it was.
But it doesn't seem like it, does it?
No, but I'm not sure. There may have been, because when any emails that when the email was sent to me originally on the Sunday, it was copied into Rebecca Smith, so she was the direct link, the SIO. So she was the one who was the face of this inquiry further through. So she was.
Interesting point here. The Pulsar log, my Pulsar logs. If I tell you, I very rarely went to court in my 12 years as a Pulsar, because my logs and the whole of the team I was on was the same. Our Pulsar logs were so descriptive. In that Pulsar log should be time, date, place. Peter Faulding, SGI, told me he thinks there's a body in the river. It then should go, I spoke to SIO, we discussed it, yes, no, reasoning.
Right.
That's what should happen.
And I've got the screenshots of the WhatsApps. So I got the proof of the exact time I made the call and the image that I sent to the Pulsar on that morning. And it was witnessed by my team, ex-military and police divers. So everybody knows it was very closely witnessed by many credible people. You know, one was a warrant officer in the military as well. So police divers. So it's a very credible man who wouldn't mislead anybody.
So here we go back. Here we've got a potential closure for the family 10 days in.
Yep.
Which, in your opinion, wasn't executed at all.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
I can tell you, as a police search advisor, I'd have said to the SIO, let's put Peter's team in with the police team. So Peter's team, who have got this anomaly on the sonar, can show the police team exactly what they've got.
Yep.
Right,
that would be normal.
let's just pause here for a minute then and delve into some of those issues further. Basically, Peter, on your own initiative then, you went back to the hot zone after the police had stood down that particular day, yeah?
Yes.
In terms of hours, how long after your arrival did you find this anomaly, the shadows?
6 minutes.
Right. But in terms of your arrival,
That morning on the
when you
7th,
first arrived,
6 minutes. Let me make clear, sorry. We searched downriver on the Monday. In the hot zone, when I searched on the Tuesday, the 7th, we started within 6 minutes of the search. I found that anomaly.
Do you think
we're
you
gonna see
annoyed
some
them by
images
going in
later.
the hot zone?
I completely agree with you about the they agreed not to dive before. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I get these two coppers are trying to be like, well, I would have done this and I would have done that, but I'm like, yeah, but are you really living in the same world as what really goes on here? Because it sounds to me like, I don't know. The thing that I don't get is if he was that convinced that it was her, I'm seeing this now for the first time, thinking, surely you would have spoken out right there and then a bit more instead of just being like, okay, fine, I'll just leave them to it. Like, I don't know. It's just something fishy about it.
Yeah.
yeah. But in a moment, Peter, I think we're going to see some images, aren't we, of the sonar?
Yeah.
Well,
We are.
finally.
Yeah, which to any reasonable person looking at that, and I don't want to preempt, people are going to watch this on YouTube.
Sorry this has been going on for so long, but we've had a good chat anyway. I like to go through things slowly so you don't miss it, and I'm really picking up on stuff that I had not even noticed before. So yeah, we're finally getting to the imagery.
You found her within 6 minutes.
That's correct. And it's
Okay.
it's been verified by independent experts since, as well as myself,
Okay.
obviously.
And getting back to that operational point by Frankie, it's
To be fair, the expert that I saw talking about it, like initially he said, these sonar images are only useful if someone knows how to read them. That's how he described it. But he definitely, whoever this guy was, seemed like an independent expert, because we all know experts. I'm going to do some more commentary. All of my commentary kind of is connected, by the way, even though it's about a different subject, it's still part of the same problem. Speaking of Google as well, I'm going to do, I know I was moaning about them earlier. I'm going to do a special about Jeffrey Epstein's connection to TED and Google, because I had no idea until reading Virginia Giuffre's book about that. But yeah, the expert said to him it 100% looked like a body. That's when I started taking this seriously.
so crucial. It reminds me of a case very early in my career. Early turn, I was picking up some donuts from a local bakery in Bracknell, as was part of the ritual on earlies, on nights, beg your pardon. And a young lad came in and he said, "Oh, there's a lady in that bush trying to kill herself." And I thought, he's talking nonsense. And this was in a rural location out in Binfield. So exactly what you said, Frankie. I put him in the back of the Panda and said, "Can you show me where she is?" And he goes, "She's in that bush." When we arrived there, there's loads of bushes. I said, "Be really specific. That bush." I couldn't see her. Pulled the bush back and saw this lady, real significant mental health issues, was trying to self-harm. Yeah. In the same way, why on earth didn't the police say, "Peter, let's do this in partnership. Your diver, at least point us in the right direction. We know that flag you've put in is not totally accurate. And thank you for taking the heat of the media away from us." Why the hell didn't they,
Ian,
take you up on your offer for a diver down there as well? I don't get that.
Before Pete speaks, it's important to say here that policing, investigation, searching especially, you react to the information you have, which can be free-flowing and changing at all times. Go back to my 3 hypotheses. It doesn't actually change the hypothesis. It just adds to the information you've got for each one, and you react to them. And in this case, if there's a chance of recovering a body from the water and giving the family closure after 10, 11, 12 days, it's an easy decision.
So, Frankie, in your opinion, then, why didn't the police dive with SGI divers in order to identify exactly where this anomaly was, given the fact that the flag that Peter had put in there, by his own admission, wasn't 100% accurate? You do need somebody to actually point that anomaly out. Why didn't they do that?
I don't know. The dive team would have known that. The police dive team would have known that, and had the pulser spoken to the police dive team, he would have known, or she would have known that as well. It's absolutely baffling. I can only presume frustration because SGI weren't actually called in by the police. Frustration because SGI had gone into the hot zone after being told not to, and frustration because it would appear they may have found a body in the water. My answer to that is, so what? So who cares who finds the missing person, as long as that person is found and the information you have is reacted upon. So I think it's all borne down by frustration, jealousy, because Peter's team were not called in by the police. They were called in by the family. And I think there's a bit of there's frustration, anger, jealousy.
So I agree with you. I mean, it's this ego again, which is reprehensible. What the hell was going on with this huddle?
Don't know. My personal view, I think they're probably saying, if this is Nicola, we're in the cart here. This is embarrassing. If we've missed it, but it's so interesting. Sorry, Frank, I'll just say it's so interesting. In the College of Police and Review, they say that the after the 29th, the area in front of the bench was searched twice. Now, firstly, you don't normally research an area once you've searched it, as Frankie will know from
Unless it's at night.
Unless it's at night, absolutely. It was done during the day. But sonar searches were not carried out, and it was surface-based searches from that date onwards, which is really interesting, acknowledged in the review, which says to me, and this is what I think, they have focused their dive searches, the 2 they did, in the front or in front of the bench area, and the search is downriver because you can see fire. Now, I've not seen one photo of a police dive team anywhere apart from the dive they did, anywhere down the river. They're all the only time the police divers were photographed was in front of the bench diving. That was it. And even the diver is standing up in knee depth of water in front of the bench as she climbs out. So now, if they'd been diving a lot, they would have been photographed all the way down that river.
I agree with them on this. I couldn't find anything, and I watched all of the earliest footage there was on this case when I made my video. Like, I went and watched all the early TikToks. Like, literally, I'm talking day 3 of her going missing. I only saw one picture of a boat, no diving on that. So I do think what he's saying here is correct, to be honest. Just to ask as well, like, I've just posted a link to this video. Did you mean this video, or there's another one with the expert that I'll find? It's called something like the Survivor something or other, TSS. Let me look it up quickly. BRB.
And
So I think
if the original and the only hypothesis that I can see is that they believe she's gone in the river, why concentrate on a land-based? Land-based searches have to be done. You have to clear that area. It's got to be done. But surely if you believe she's gone in the river and it's your only working hypothesis, your search center should be an inch-by-inch search of that river. Should be.
But what they said, Frankie, is interesting because it was said, I think, I can't remember the exact words, said after the 29th, it was surface-based searches. In other words, Lowland Rescue, whoever it was, but even they were refused access. It came out as a big newspaper story that because Lowland Rescue were complaining, they were offered to send hundreds of volunteers from around the country to assist in the search, a bit like April Jones when I worked on it. They weren't allowed. So
And they also have water-based cadaver dogs.
That's correct. So a lot of this was refused access into this area, which was really, really interesting. So something's not right here. But I believe they searched in front of the bench. That's where they were photographed. And they've relied on any surface-based search downriver. And they even acknowledged that it was not sonar. And they said that the diving was done on an ad hoc basis, on a sort of if they're available, because they weren't available some of the time.
I wonder how many search experts from the police or from the NTA or from PNSC were on this review panel. I can tell you it was none.
Well, I know the National Search Advisor peer reviewed it.
Let's be careful, gentlemen, for our listeners, that we're banding around all these sort of letters. Let's put some substance behind them. But in terms of the anomaly, can we see it, Peter? I think that would be really useful at this juncture to see this and understand what you shared with the police and better understand. Frustrations doesn't seem strong enough. I'm really, really angry about this. But yeah, can we see this imagery, please?
Yeah, we'll play the excuse me. We'll play the live imagery which I took in the afternoon, because the shadow image in the morning that the pulsar saw was the two shadows which is there.
Yeah.
But this is the live imagery that we're going down the river now. So this was taken in the afternoon. Us going back, where I was not happy with the police divers' decision that there was nothing there, because again, I reiterate that a shadow or a target or an anomaly, whatever you want to call it, cannot be created by nothing. So this is the footage now, and I'll take you down through the footage. I'll put my glasses on. Okay.
So I'm going to take you through this software. This is the Centurion side scan sonar we use. And now I'm going to start to play it through. So this recording was taken from the bench and down the river. And here we go. So we're just starting to run. You can see here, you can look at here, you've got some sort of old trees laying on the bottom there. There's trees and branches laying on the bottom, which I can magnify. And we carry on. We've got it's a rather deep trough there. We move further down, and there's some area of, you can see rough bottom coming in. I can speed it up just slightly. There we go. We slow it down. You can see all this area here of sort of like a rock structure on the bottom of the could be sand banked up. It just varies. I'm just going to slow this down again. There you go. As we roll through the sonar. Now this is a speed what I typically see on the boat. Let's slow it back. Exactly what you see. As I was going down the river, I'm watching the screen carefully, focusing on every little, potential anomaly I've got here. Now you can see from the rough ground here, it's now starting to smooth out at this time. This was on Tuesday the 7th. This was taken in the afternoon, this particular recording, about 4:30, when we went back to re-record the anomaly I saw. The police divers said there was nothing there. They'd already dived at this stage and said there's nothing there at all. So this is what I want to show you today. This has never been seen on video. Now, if you look here, you can now start to see something coming in, which immediately grabbed my attention with, many years experience in this. There we go. Large shadow here. You can see the large shadow to the left. And there's clearly a very clear target here that needs further investigation. So we're going to stop the sonar here. We're going to stop it at this particular stage. And what I can do, I can get the magnifier here. And I can, if you watch this carefully, you can see the shape that looks very much like a body. To me, with all my years of experience since 1999, that is a body. We work on average 10 drownings a year. We find them generally within the hour. and they're recovered within 2 hours. And what you've got here is this is the actual body of Nicola. Here is the shadow that runs off. Now, the police divers said there was nothing there. The College of Policing said it was tree branches. Now, I know what tree branches look like. You saw them earlier laying on the bottom of the river. And what you can see here is the shadow of 2 arms sticking out with a head in the middle. It's a very, very clear target for me. And then you can see the legs bent here. And what I need to explain to you is a shadow cannot be produced by nothing. It's physically impossible. If you stand in a field with the sun behind you, you will cast a shadow across the ground. Same as in photographs, same in everything. So nothing can be, it cannot be nothing. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually change the color of the palette for you, just to give you a different color. And we'll look at the grayscale. Let's go into the grayscale just to change the background for you. There we go. And now if you look at it now in the actual scale of that, now look at the magnified image. You can see very, very clearly, without a doubt, that's a body. There's no way of denying that. I know this is quite shocking for many to see, but I'm here because the College of Police have denied any access. No one has ever seen this data. They're experts, so-called experts, have never even seen this data. They've only seen a PDF image. So I would be questioning their ability and their credibility and their credentials of how many people they ever found. What I find on average 10 people a year very, very quickly. Now, as we carry on, I said I can change the palette colors. What I'm going to do now, we've got an area tool here, which is quite useful to highlight this. I'm going to go to left channel. So you've got, here's a port channel, the red at the top is a port channel. This is the starboard channel.
I just posted another link in the chat, which is for this channel called what's it called? Surviving the Survivor. They did a really in-depth analysis they had an expert who really talks about, and honestly, until I saw that, I was looking at this thinking, I didn't really get it. But once you watch this guy, it really does make sense. Like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make the image larger. There we go, so you can see it quite clearly there. I'm going to pull it up the screen slightly so we can see it in the middle. So this is the port channel, and that's all that red is for at the top. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take the area tool. I'm actually going to use this to highlight, so those who haven't seen can understand what the image is. This is the head area. Now bearing in mind, just please bear with me, I'm traveling at the moment, just using my thumb and finger on a mouse. I haven't got a manual mouse, I've got a rugged laptop here. And I'm just scratching down here to highlight, coming down to the bottom. Now this is Nicola's bottom here as it comes round. Talk you through it. And then we come to the back of the legs, which are clearly bent. I'm sorry about the sort of wobbly image, but this is just, I say, I've got no access to any. We come down to where the leg is, down to the feet area, and then I'm going to come back up here. If you've all seen the CSI films, you know, where they chalk around the body, I'm going to come in. Now, I don't be criticised for the rough outline because I'm doing this manually, and sonar images are not photographs. Just please remember that. They're not a photograph. Now that's coming up to the shoulder now. The shoulder and the arm, you can see that actually goes off here and it comes around here and back. Now what I'm going to do now, shock everybody. That is the body of Nicola Bulley, without doubt. Without a doubt. But what I want to say here is images like this. The College of Police also said at one stage, oh, it's tree branches. Well, 1 minute it's tree branches, next minute the police diver said there's nothing there. This is where a lady went missing within 75 meters from a bench. And they're trying to tell us that there's nothing there. When you are searching, we are calling it the hot zone. I'm sorry, but there's not going to be a tree branch that looks like a body, which is laying on its side in that area with clear shadows here, very, very clear shadows of the arms and and the body laying there. But what else you can do with this? We can actually take measurements. Now, measurements this way are done by GPS. Measurements that way are more accurate across. If we look at the top of the scale here, you can see 1 to 3 meters, etc. So what we're going to do, clear that down. I'm just going to take a measuring tool roughly, and then we can sort of measure roughly down the sort of areas of, and we at the top of the screen we get up here, we get some measurements, and then you can draw. And basically, when I drew it round completely, it came out to 1.61.
Peter, I don't know where to start with how I'm feeling at the moment. That was Nicola Bulley's body. Even exceeds the balance of probabilities. I thought I'd struggle to make a statement beyond all reasonable doubt, but that was the body of a human being, and that was her.
There's no way that was a tree branch, is all I can say. Absolutely no way that was a tree branch.
What I'm really struggling with here as well, Peter, that I would have invited you in, celebrated the fact that, we'd brought close to the family. But knowing you as I do, we'd have come up with a media strategy that your organisation, the police, would have come out as though this is a successful conclusion to a very tragic set of events. I think I know the answer to that, but what's your take on why that didn't happen?
I think, excuse me, I think it was embarrassing for them, and it shouldn't have been like that. At the end of the day, we've got far better equipment, expertise in sonar search than anyone in the UK. The manufacturers confirm that no one else has this equipment in the UK, that we've got the highest frequency available. And not only that, you can have all the best equipment, but if you don't know how to use it properly, it's the same with ground penetrating radar, things get missed. And we've got a high hit rate. And I think they just didn't want us there. And again, disturbingly, I thought I'd be invited to the inquest.
You think it's a branch entangled with others? I mean, I don't know, honestly. But once I listened to that guy, if I'd have read that before I watched that guy, I'd have probably said, oh, okay. But I just don't know why this many people would put themselves out there online. Don't think that guy is anyone who's got like a pro channel or anything like that. That's why I think they really do have an independent opinion on it. I don't know. Go and watch that video I just posted and see what you think after that, because it's just too many people now getting involved in it. I don't know. Maybe they're all under Peter's spell, but it is looking very convincing to me now. But the thing that gets to me as well, it's like, let's say if that is her, yeah. How did she get there? How did she get into that position, into that spot? It just means everything we've been told is incorrect, is wrong. which is kind of what I thought. But I'm really trying to be open-minded and unbiased. And I definitely, as I've made it clear, I'm no fan of Peter and I'm no fan of these cops either.
But it's literally 3 or 4 days after I left, I got suspended from the National Crime Agency database, which I've been on and worked with them for many years as an expert. And I got suspended. Now, the National Search Advisor, who is part of the National Crime Agency, was there on the job, and I believe he was feeding a lot of bad information back to them. They had me suspended, which then meant I could no longer give evidence at any inquest because I'm no longer credible as such. And I was looking forward to going to the inquest to present my evidence, but that didn't happen. And then I thought the next time I'm going to be invited is to go to the College of Policing Review in London, which I was invited to, which we can come on to.
Peter, I'd like to perhaps accelerate things slightly, because you've mentioned the College of Policing Review and you're being barred from, you know, the process that followed Nicola's recovery from the river. But I want to just come back to...
It does honestly seem like a smear campaign at this point, what they did there. That really does. Because I do remember a lot of people, not a lot. It's like with everything in this story, there's people that believe one thing, there's people that believe something else. But I do remember that people were split between thinking Peter was the hero and the scapegoat and the spod. I think it was the word that crime analyst called him. She was the person I asked to come and do an interview with me, actually, because she had said in a video she believed the sonar image was a body. And then there's people that believe Peter is Peter is a con artist and a showman, and he was just trying to sell his book. I'm somewhere in the middle with this. I'm not being funny, but this is the most convincing side to it I've seen so far. I just think that, like, it should have been taken into consideration at the very least. Like, I watched the footage of the what's his name? I'm not sure if they're going to show it. The guy from who organised the inquiry, the bald guy. I know they're all bald, but who's, by the way, now become a Tory MP, I think. He's either a Tory MP or he's working for the Tories. That says a lot. He was... I don't trust him. I don't trust him one bit. So, yeah.
To one issue where I think publicly you were humiliated. The GB News interview that you had on the hoof, you said with all honesty that the part of the river that you'd searched, Nicola's body wasn't there, and you'd been told by the police she wasn't in the hot zone, even though you had your suspicions that a body was there. But nonetheless, I believe what you told them at the time was the truth in terms of what you were led to believe. And you have been held out to dry, particularly by the press. I understand there was an awkward exchange with Nick Ferrari on LBC, who challenged you to apologise to the family. Do you want to give a quick summary for our listeners on that?
Yeah, well, I want to make it clear what actually happened. So Nicola was found further down the river, not where I found her. So I want to explain how that happened. Now, this is acknowledged in the College of Policing Review as well. Now, I want to make it clear as well here, the College of Policing have never carried out a case-specific review on anything like this, ever. This was commissioned by Andrew Snowden, the Police and Crime Commissioner then, who's now a Conservative MP.
That was it, Andrew Snowden. He's now a Conservative MP. Yeah, Peter Lawson, he was the guy that died. I mean, that's the other thing. There's just been so much fishy stuff going on. He died. They've all left or quit or moved to different roles. There was the woman from the vets. Yeah, there's just so many weird things about this story, honestly.
He commissioned this, which then took him to one side. So he's no longer accountable because he's handed it over to the College of Police and should have been the IOPC. So the IOPC investigated why they released a personal information, but not the search. So it was handed over to the college to review, but this was meant to be independent, but it wasn't. This was basically police marking their own homework here, and they could steer the narrative for them. So yeah, so Nicola was, it was acknowledged in the review that on the 18th and 19th of February, there was an exceptionally high tide, spring tide, that come up, flooded 20 cubic meters of water over the weir. It had not been happened, by the way, since she'd gone missing. So
another thing I saw, yeah, is this issue about the water levels and the tide. Someone actually did their own independent. He's a YouTuber. I mean, he has a channel. He's not a YouTuber. He has he's only got 2 videos. But he did his own measurements and presented them. And he thinks the police used his figures. But he has nothing to do with the police. I'm just saying that's another piece of what looks to be independent information that hasn't been officially recognised.
the times you went missing, this didn't happen. So this is a massive tide that come up over the weir into the top section of the river, which is benign. So that's fresh water. This is salt water, brackish water down here. And it flooded tons of water up river to where she was lying. Her body had been slightly decomposed. She's lifted. Now, they interestingly in the review, they mention the weir. Why would they mention the weir that would have lifted her body? So this is why I believe that they knew where she was. It lifted because they focused their resources. And then she was lifted. She was carried downriver. She went over the weir. And then she was found by a member of the public, not the police, floating down the river. Jason Rockwell saw her floating down the river.
Now, this bit, I'm not going to lie, because I'm not really, I do not believe for 1 minute she was kept in the caravan park and then repositioned into the river. I'm sorry, that just sounds like absolute fantasy. But what he's saying there does make a lot of sense. Like, Andrew Snowden did say a comment like something like, I said it was going to be that day, or we knew she was going to show up then. If he'd have known that they needed a certain amount of rainfall to lift the body over the weir, he's kind of given himself away there. And he does seem like the type that would. So I'm just saying, this is another bit of info that does make a little bit of sense. Let's just say that.
And then her body drifted into the reeds. She wasn't found in the reeds. Her body was actually seen floating down the river by a member of the public.
And that Jason Rothwell guy, he is definitely questionable.
So again, I got mentioned all these times in the review, 58 times. And Nick Ferrari had me on the radio and he said, yeah, you're going to apologize to the family now. I said, no, I'm not. And I talk, I've been in communication with the family, so I've not upset any of the family.
They predict when a body will float due to the temperature of the water. I've always heard from a lot of different sources that it's impossible to predict how a dead body is going to act in water because it depends on so many different factors. Well, I could be wrong. You said you've done 2 years research, so I don't know. But I know that, you know, going by the footage I showed of that river, those people couldn't even, you know, the part where the weir is so shallow, there is no way that body would have gotten over there unless the water was much, much, much higher.
It's been transparent, but I did not tell them about this anomaly because that was the only operational information that I held about this anomaly, and I wasn't allowed to. But when the COP review came out that it absolutely destroyed me and my company's reputation in this field, then I had to speak out. I had to speak out. And I was
Peter.
Yeah.
Peter, may I confirm, just and it is part of this, is prior to this huge 20 cubic meter tide,
yeah,
had the body in the water begun to decompose and off gas, and had it moved from where you found it, is it fair to say it would have got stuck in shallow water, or even if it had gone past that, the weir would have stuck it?
It couldn't have got past the shallows. It would not have made the bottom corner.
I just wanted to confirm that, mate.
Seen, and it wouldn't even get over the weir. There wasn't enough water over the weir. You'd have to push yourself over the weir to get over. You
so from where your sonar picture is, which is deeper water, that goes downriver into shallow water.
Yeah, very shallow on the bend. It's ankle deep.
I think that's important to clarify before this high tide.
Yeah, and the water is not moving.
Thank you.
And that is not moving at all in that river. We had a boat stuck out in the river, and we had a mooring line on, and the boat is actually facing out into the river. So if there was a flow, it would turn the boat sideways, facing downriver. But it was literally, there's pictures of us with the boat floating. It's not moving at all. And I just want to make that clear.
You mentioned...
I'm actually confused now. Is he saying... Because I thought the island was between the bench and the bridge, and then the weir was on the other side of that? Or is the island after the weir before the bridge? I'm really confused because I always thought how she got over the weir was because the water level went up due to the rain. What the autopsy said about how she died. Well, from what I read, and you know what's really annoying is Lancs Live has been a really good source for, they do actual like court reporting facts. Like it's now behind a paywall because I tried to check on there earlier. But what I remember it's saying is it wasn't convincing. They said it was the most likely cause was that she'd had an accident and fallen into the river and drowned. That's what I read. The island is around 75 meters from the bench before the weir. Yeah, right. I'm right. Sorry, it was just the way he was describing it. I was just getting really confused. I'm just like, this is what I mean. It's just so much to have to be constantly analyzing and deciding if you think it's true or not. It does your head in. Like it shouldn't have to be like this. We should be able to trust these people.
The PCC, for our listeners, that's the Police and Crime Commission, and the IOPC, the Independent Office for Police Conduct. And you mentioned earlier in the podcast, and this is the first time in your professional knowledge or opinion that the College of Police and COP have carried out such a review. I'm baffled as to the level of intensity of this inquiry that caught the public imagination, both domestically and worldwide. Why on earth didn't the IOPC conduct this investigation?
I've no idea. I've no idea.
So let's
It was,
let's talk
commissioned
to
by
the.
Andrew Snowden. Yeah.
All right, let's talk to the Police and Crime Commissioner, whose raison d'etre is basically to hold the Chief Constable of Lancashire, in this case, to account. By the College of Policing doing it, am I right in thinking that the person, the PCC, was then eliminated from any scrutiny or criticism?
I believe so. By requesting that the College of Police review it, that keeps them out of it.
Right. And the College of Policing review is quite a large tome to give some aspect or some sort of measure for our listeners. And I know that you've been through it as well, Frankie, and I know that you've forensically taken it apart, Peter. But it's fair to say there were multiple inconsistencies, and you've mentioned a few of those. Frankie, what's your view on that?
I think the review is a knee-jerk reaction to a job that turned into a press joy and a police cluster, to be honest. And I think from reading it from the outside looking in, there was always going to be finger pointing and a scapegoat. And sadly, that's SGI and Peter. And as I said earlier on, I'd like to know the review how many professional searchers or search advisors were actually not reviewed the review, but actually took part in writing and analysing that review with whoever wrote it at the police college.
Frankie?
I mean, his job is to make the police look good. So that's more than likely not going to happen. Right, we've got a tiny little clip I've got of this.
The earlier stage of recognising there were issues around the drawdown of expert advisors on a list held by the National Crime Agency. We escalated that concern to the head of the National Crime Agency, who's undertaking a review. I understand that that dive expert is no longer on the NCA list of expert advisors.
Officially, the statement claimed he had been on the NCA list since 2008, but that too was inaccurate. Peter was first placed on the database back in 2001 when Mark Harrison was around, but in those days it wasn't the NCA list, it was the National Crime Faculty, or NCF. Then it changed to the National Crime and Operations Faculty, then the Serious Organized Crime Agency, and eventually it became the NCA. So in the review, it said he was on the NCA list since 2008. That was wrong. That clarification shows his removal erased over 2 decades of recognized service across every iteration of the UK's national policing expert system.
See, that's cheeky. Crafty.
A man who had built a career assisting police in high-risk searches, this wasn't just reputational damage, it was professional exile. We will now hear from Dr. Mark Harrison, who will share his expertise and insight and shed light on why Peter Faulding has been in the expert database since 2001.
Okay, the other thing I'm going to very quickly show is, I think we might have seen enough of that podcast. Let's have a little look at this guy.
The very next part of that statement, whatever nuance or context it contained, was cut from the public report.
And after, I pioneered the use of sonar in the UK in 1999. I brought it over from the States and I literally pioneered its use.
That's another interview he's done with this other video that I posted in the... What I wanted to get was... Oh, we've got this I've not seen before. I've not seen this woman before.
First and foremost, on behalf of myself and the constabulary, I want to say that our thoughts are with Nicky's family at what must be a very difficult time. I hope by reading that report that Nicola's family can see that we did everything we could do to bring Nicola home to them. The report highlights excellent practice when it comes to the response to the incident, to the investigation, to the searches, and to the support that was given to Nicola's family. It also highlights the competence, the compassion, and the commitment of our staff involved in this extensive inquiry.
When you read through the College of
What I noticed was she was shaking her head when she was saying something then. But, you know, where is the guy that was talking about the sonar? Oh, there he is. Right, let's have a quick look at that.
Surface area. Initial searches that
said in his opening comments that nothing could have been done that we saw that would have led to Nicola's body being found sooner.
So yeah, my name is Neil McDonough. I'm a scuba diving instructor, technical rescue specialist, water safety provider, and a side scan sonar operator also. I worked quite a lot with teams across the UK, including England, Wales, Scotland, with search and rescue teams, both voluntary, providing water safety support for search and rescue operations for a number of years. And over recent years have stepped into the role of being a specialist sonar operator, operating side sonar equipment for the same teams.
So he knows what he's talking about. But go and watch this anyway. I think it's really good, but I just wanted to get to the bit where he actually, I don't want to play the whole video, but let me see.
Is critical to ensuring hopefully a quick resolution, which is what everyone would want, but making sure that mix of resources and that skill set is the right skill set, because too much.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. He was saying you need to have the right skills to understand sonar imagery, which is another thing, because he sent that message to someone. How do we know that person knows how to read a sonar image? Probably didn't. Do you know what I mean? The police mess up every minute. You know what? Another thing,
ensured he could not meaningfully correct.
I'm not gonna show it, but one thing I've noticed about dealing with the police is they work on shifts, yeah. So it's very difficult to get a consistent communication with the same person. Like, they'll be only available on certain days, and then you call up and they're not on that day, or they've been transferred to a different department, or you know what I mean? It's really there's so much inconsistency with dealing with people in the police. That's another problem they don't acknowledge. How is it independent if he worked with the same search and rescue of worked with, though? What do you mean, the same search? You mean he worked for SGI? He didn't work for SGI. He said he does scuba diving. When I say independent, I mean he's a sonar image operator that doesn't work for SGI. I didn't hear him say that. That's what I meant by independent. But I'm kind of not playing you as much as I should, because I hadn't prepared to show this bit. So I'm kind of messing it up a little bit. Oh, there's another bit here, because he's kind of like broken it down into different sections.
Continuous development on utilizing this equipment. Things that may appear as targets or objects such as debris, noise, or anything else may be misinterpreted as a real target, or indeed missed altogether.
Neil's insight really underlines the problem.
UK
Technology without expertise can mislead more than it helps.
Sorry.
And that brings us back to the Cranfield University expert who reviewed Faulding sonar images. His assessment was careful. He said the target could not be positively identified based on the data presented. That wording matters because it points to the real limitation. Without access to the live feed, even an academic expert couldn't fully judge what Faulding Sonar had detected. But here's the problem. The very next part of that statement, whatever nuance or context it contained, was cut from the public report.
And after, I pioneered the use of sonar in the UK in 1999. I brought it over from the States and I literally pioneered its use.
Right, got it. They're saying an image in itself is no good. You can't tell anything from an image. You have to be watching the whole live event as it's happening for it to mean anything. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you would find someone that wasn't in some way connected to this if they didn't understand body searches. So I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. I don't know why he would put himself out on this podcast if he didn't stand behind what he was saying. That was just my take on it. You're very good at pushing back. I like it. I was going to look up his name quickly. What was his name? It was Kevin something. Neil McDonough. Let's have a look for Neil McDonough. Neil McDonough. Sonar. Neil McDonough, personal appointments, company's house, driving efficiency in autumn. Oh, that's not him. There's a lot of Neil McDonoughs. Well, you know what? It's called Go Do Your Own Research. So I would say go and do your own research on that, because I can't find a link to him in a quick search. Then there's too many Neil McDonoughs to look through. But anyway, let me see if there's anything else in this video that's worth watching. It's only a few more minutes. But I think we're pretty much there.
Everybody's waiting for it. They held a non-reportable closed press conference with selected members of the media, and they couldn't take any screenshots, and they showed them 2 screenshots.
I can't remember if I showed this bit or not. What was I going to say? Blank faces. He worked for Surrey Research and Rescue, but that's off the top of your head. Okay. All right, let me try again. I put in Neil McDonough Sonar. LinkedIn. All right, let me put search and rescue. Search and rescue. He's on DiverNet. Is that him? Oh God, now it's going to be all these websites that want my data. I don't know if that's him. No, that's not him. Yeah, I can't find it. Sorry, right now. But anyway, he was very convincing to me. Right, I can't remember if I've played this bit of the video or not, when he says about they kind of told the police they told the press not to believe him, which I think is very relevant.
Everybody's waiting for it. They held a non-reportable closed press conference with selected members of the media, and they couldn't take any screenshots, and they showed them 2 screenshots of my sonar images. Bearing in mind, not live data. And they said to him, Peter Faulding will claim that he found Nicola Bulley in the river. We've had experts look at it. These are the images. She wasn't there, to steer the narrative and to discredit me prior to the release of the report.
So is this about the police initial response? Not really. Is it about the Pulse's decisions, which in my opinion weren't correct? No. Is it about the SIO? No. This is about Lancashire police as a whole saving face. Right. And the only individual they pointed at, Peter, is you, mate.
That's right. And now we've got the evidence. We've got the FOIs which got published. We've got the questions. And when I done the COP review, very, very quick in London, they sent me a few questions. There was not one question about my search, nothing in there. Why did you speak to the media? Why did you go against the police narrative? And it was held in a conference room in a London hotel, non-secure environment. I thought I'd be invited to the College of Policing with the senior people, just a couple of detectives, just questioning me. And during that meeting, prior to the meeting, they asked them to sign an NDA or refused. During the meeting, I had a witness with me, former chief officer, actually asked me 4 times within that meeting to sign an NDA, and I refused. Again, that's how serious this is. These people need to be held to account. They cannot get away with this. This is absolutely corrupt to the top at a very senior level. And like you said, Ian,
the organisation needs to be held to account.
The organisation, because it is a board, there's a board of directors. The College of Policing is a private limited company owned by the Home Office and overseen by a number of directors which are published. They are accountable, as I am, for my company. And they just dragged us through the mud. And since that review came out, we have been struck off from Thames Valley, Surrey, Sussex, Hampshire, Kent, and Essex Police. The whole of the south of England now does not have a dive team.
And I'm presuming any freedom of information requests for SIO logs, Pulsar logs, etc., would be a waste of time because they would be deemed as investigatory and nothing to do with the public.
Yes, that's right. So I'm going to take my own legal action in the High Court to bring these people before a High Court. And that's the only way we're ever going to get this out, because everyone has buried this. No one seems to be. I'm writing to the Home Secretary, Prime Minister, to demand some answers. And I've spoke to my legal team and I said, this is one of the biggest defamatory cases. It's huge because I had my name dragged through.
I'd love to read the Pulsar logs, just for no other purpose than to see the decision-making process. I really would.
Absolutely, Frankie.
And as a direct result, Peter, of SGI being removed from the partnership arrangements that work perfectly with the forces that you've mentioned in the UK, we face the real prospect that in the future, families will be left bereft for longer because the police just haven't got the capability to do what you do so professionally and so brilliantly, in my opinion. Peter,
search teams and dive teams have been slaughtered across the country. Police search teams and dive teams have been slaughtered, cut out, not there anymore.
But
oh gosh, well, I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight. I do think it'll be interesting if he sues them, that's for sure, because that's what I've been wondering about all the time. Is I think the reason why they were so protective in the beginning was because they didn't want to get sued. And interesting that hardly anyone that was involved at the time is even left in the police force, it would seem, or they've moved to another company, what do you call it? Not country, constabulary. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, but I agree with the man with the glasses. It would be definitely be interested to see if they do have any logs, and then we can get a little bit further along. Okay, guys, let me know in the comments if you've got anything sensible to add to the conversation. It's been great talking to you all and watching this footage. And like I said, tomorrow night, all things being well, I'm going to do a stream on how the police covered up pedophilia by what's his name, Ian Watkins, you know, the guy that was just killed. Yeah, because that was another one. That was another big police cover up. Police tried to make the witness look like the perpetrator, and yeah, we're going to look at that. So I hope you can join me then. In the meantime, have a great rest of the evening and day. Bye.